I wanted to say something. Long before there were these contraptions that we use, all this social media, in psychology, in the field of psychology, there was something called crowd psychology. Does everyone ever, do any of you remember that term, crowd psychology? Well, crowd psychology is basically a phenomenon of psychological phenomenon of how people act when they're in a crowd, and how that differs from when they how they act when they're not in a crowd. There we go. Kind of putting this all together, right? When we're not in a crowd, okay. So anyway, so what it turns out is, because what they would find is that people in crowds would do things like, start cars on fire, beat people up, do say words, do things that they wouldn't normally do. It was called crowd psychology, and you can read about it, right? And we know that that crowds act differently. They kind of get their own momentum, they get their own personality, and you have a crowd. If you have a crowd of crazy, angry people or whatever, and it doesn't take much to change it. All it has to do is you have one or two or three, few people get started, and you can change the whole psychology of that. So people will do things they wouldn't normally do. Well, that same sort of psychology, that crowd psychology, has come over to social media. Because social media, what's the, what is the one phenomenon that's the same between social media and being in a crowd? It's called anonymity. You're not really noticed. People aren't going to see who you are. They may know your name and all that sort of stuff on social media. They're going to know your name, but they don't see you. So it's the kind of thing, is kind of a way of being confrontational without being confrontational. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing this up right now is because, I think Facebook and Instagram people are usually really nice people. So really, like, polite, and if someone doesn't agree with me, that's great. We discuss it. We go through that. But I don't know, but it's like, what, TikTok people are so rude. They're so rude. They keep telling me how bad I look. It doesn't matter how I look. I'm healthy. I mean, I don't, how bad I look. What else do they tell me? That I must believe the earth is flat. That I must. Anyway, there's all these really nasty things to talk about me. So listen, I just want to clarify why I come here and why I do what I do. I do what I do because it's not being done anywhere. Okay, you're not getting what I give. Because, well, how do I know? Because I listen. I know. Most people don't know a lot of things, or if they do know, they're not in a position to talk about it. All right, so I have an ability to do that, and I'm here, and I'm doing this because we need the truth to get out there as much as possible. And am I ever wrong? Of course I'm wrong. Everyone's wrong. I can be wrong. Yeah. I don't know. So anyway, whatever, you guys, TikTok, I'll tell you what too, though, if you really don't, if it's really like, this one guy this week was so angry. He was swearing and all over what? It was cooked food, you guys, cooked food. I made some post about cooked food. People got angry. This guy was angry. If he had been around me, he might have injured me. He was that angry. It's crazy, so what I'm thinking is, if you guys really don't like what I talk about, don't have to listen. Don't have to listen. Don't have to. Number one. Number two, let me just talk to you a minute about cooked food. Let me just talk to everybody who's got some ears, okay? If you got ears, you got a mind, you want to listen to about cooked food? You want to know what the word, okay. All right. It means applying fire, heat to organic substances. What are organic substances? The word organic For example, the word organic chemistry has to do with chemistry involving carbon. Carbon is one of the elements in the periodic table, but it happens to be an element that has 4 spots, so a lot of things can attach, and it's a great backbone for our reality, for biological reality. Those are carbon compounds. We are carbon compounds. A worm is a carbon compound. A tree is a carbon compound. A bacterium is a carbon compound. Okay, so carbon, carbon, carbon. Okay, now on that same vertical row in the periodic table, we have the next one down is silicon. Silicon has the same kind of binding capacity. So therefore, silicon can easily. That's what this whole chips are. You know, computers are silicon based. Okay, so they're I wouldn't call them life forms, but they are whatever these are. Yeah. Yeah, mass psychosis. I agree. So, thank you, Uzma. Thank you very much. I'm really happy that some of you, a lot of you, get it. But anyway, so carbon means really when we talk about organic chemistry, we're talking about carbon chemistry. How do carbon bonds and how do chemicals happen? All right, so a chemical reaction. Now, a chemical reaction is different than a nuclear reaction. A nuclear reaction is when you open up the nucleus, and when you change the nucleus, you now change the fundamentals of the substance. Because what's the difference, for example, between hydrogen and helium? 1 proton and 1 electron. You know, and then you add another proton and electron, you got lithium, right? And then it keeps going. And there used to be like 104, I don't know how many there are now, elements, but are basic fundamental elements of the universe, not just on this planet, of the universe. So when supernovae explode, they're just sending out trillions and trillions of tons of hydrogen, helium, they send out things like that, right? Which coalesce and all that into planets, into stars, into suns, of course, and none of it's intelligent. It's all random, right, Mr. Scientist? It's all random. Everything's random, right? The universe, including your mind, Mr. Scientist, pretty random. Anyway, nothing is random in the universe. Turns out nothing's random. The only thing that anybody, and I hope some of you are trained in science so you can appreciate what I'm going to say. What is the one thing that we'd have to say is definitely random? And it's called Brownian motion. I don't know if any of you have ever looked up that word, if you ever took science. Anyway, Brownian motion is the motion that, for example, if you had a container with oxygen molecules in it, they'd be moving in all different weird directions, right? They would just, all that motion they call random. It's called Brownian motion. It's the fundamental motion of things that are really, really tiny. Well, how's it random? What do you mean random? How's it random? It's random because we don't understand it. Once we understand it, it's no longer random. For example, what do you think of an 8-year-old child who is not precocious, just a regular old 8-year-old guy? Let's make him 6, and he looks up at the heavens. He looks at the stars. What does he see? Do you think he sees all the different constellations and the fact that all these stars are completely ordered? Do you think that the 6-year-old, 7-year-old is going to know that? You think the 6-year-old, 7-year-old is going to know, well, gosh, you know what? This constellation was here about an hour ago. And then I don't see it in the summer months as much, and blah, 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 right? Because there's complete order. There's order everywhere, you guys. So whatever. And if you don't know that, that's where you got it's time to learn. Time to learn. Order. The universe is ordered, and that order is divine. Why do I say divine? Try it. I got an idea. I got an idea for anybody, especially you guys that get mad at me on TikTok. I got an idea for you. How about this? Let me see you digest your food. Can you secrete all the appropriate enzymes at the appropriate time? Let me see you fire the appropriate neurological system from your brain, your spinal cord, to pick your arm up. Let me see how you beat your heart. Okay. So what I'm trying to say is we don't do anything, but the universe is completely intelligent. Anyway, that's not the point for today. I just needed to make that point because it really really kind of disturbs me. I love talking to people. I love people who love to hear it. And if you got a different opinion, so there was a couple things I wanted to talk about this time that I got a couple questions on, and I wanted to try and discuss because I know it's interesting to you. Thank you, William. Thank you. What was that one question one of you guys asked at the beginning? Let's see, can I get back to it? It looked like a good question. Toronto. Oh, right. Are we live? Yeah, we are. Where was that? You're doing some phenomenological research for your dissertation yourself. I love that. Beautiful. Talk to me, Kimberly. Send me some stuff because that's I like that. I love that stuff. Phenomenology. It's fantastic. Anyway, okay. So back to food. Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, back to food. All right. So anyway, this you don't have to go, and all you people, listen, you don't have to go to medical school. You don't have to take biology. You don't have to do anything. You can grow up anywhere under any circumstances as long as you're a human being. You've got eyes and ears and you got a brain. And you look around the world and you realize that, well, the ancients. You all know the ancients. Okay. The ancients said there were 5 elements: earth, air, fire, water, and ether. Okay, ether we won't get into at this point because ether is probably the fundamental physical substance of phenomenology, of that which is manifest. But anyway, the earth, air, fire, and water is what they talked about. Now you'll notice if you look at a forest, you look at a jungle, you look anywhere, you're going to see, or an ocean, you're going to see the 3 of them. You're not going to see fire. You're going to see earth, air, and water. Okay. In fact, water is necessary for life to exist. So when we go to other planets, when Elon Musk and his dudes go to the other, whatever the hell they're doing, no one knows what they're doing. We don't know what they're doing. We don't know what any of these guys are doing. But I know, I'll tell you something. I've got a pretty clear sky here at night. And there's a lot of stuff going on up there. But anyway, when you go to another planet or another solar system, they have to find water in order to have life exist. Water is the universal medium. It dissolves everything, not everything, but I mean, it's what they call, it's a polar type element. Okay. The hydrogens and the oxygen, the way they're formed, they become a polar-like element. So they're polarized in a way. So they become water soluble. So most things water. And our whole body is made of it. 70 to 75% of our body is water. Okay. So that's it. So anyway, so those are the main 3 grand categories that we use. Now, when you bring fire into it, what happens? Lightning strikes a forest. What happens? Okay, everybody? Lightning strikes the forest. What happens? Okay, you get a fire. And what do the animals do? Thank you, Yvonne. What do the animals do when they love the ancients? Absolutely. What do the animals do? They run. They get out of the way. Why? Why do the animals run from fire? I got a better question. Why don't you stick your finger in fire? Why don't you stick your clothing in fire? Why don't you stick your money in fire? Well, you don't, because fire is destructive. Is there an argument there? Probably. Well, it can be constructive if I put it in my car and the spark plugs fire up and the car works, so it's constructive. Okay, got it. That's where I get what you're saying. But raw fire, the way we're talking about it is, yeah, you can use it. Mm-hmm. Like they have coal engines, they have gasoline engines, they burn fire and they cause motion and they cause things. And if you can control that motion, then you've got some use out of it. Okay. But we're talking about fire. So anyway, biological things burn in fire, they get destroyed. Okay. So, and in fact, the sun, which is fantastic, right? The sun gives us life. But if you stay out in it all day long, if you stay out in it, let's say for a month or a week, you're going to get completely dehydrated. That's why God, the divinity, gave us night and day. We have night and day. We need both. What's better? What's better? Neither's better. They're both equally required. How do we know that? Because they exist. That which is required. Yeah. I know the RGCC test. I'll talk to you about that in a minute. And the Chagas and all that. Oh, I know you don't want to hear this stuff. But anyway, all I wanted to say was listen, because it's very important about cooked food. So when you take the food, now in a chemical reaction, what is a chemical reaction? It's instead of a nuclear reaction where you change the nucleus and you actually change the fundamentals of the substance, you just exchange electrons. So electrons can bind to another molecule. They can bind by different kind of bonds. Covalent bonds, ionic bonds, there's different kind of bonds. In order for that to happen, energy needs to get into the system to cause that to happen. Okay, and then that energy is called endo coming inside. Endothermic, thermal for heat. Endothermic chemical reaction brings heat in, changes chemical bonds. You now have something different. So whatever you brought into the kitchen and whatever you serve the family are completely different chemically. They're no longer the same. That's all. Does not anyone not agree with that? Okay. All right. So that's true. Talk to anybody you want. Okay. There are exothermic chemical reactions. You pour this into this and it explodes. A bomb, nuclear. Those are exothermic, and then there's endothermic. But all reactions require energy of some type, and energy is always related to temperature, right? That's why for you all, when we want to know what our real thyroid is, what is our thyroid function? Forget the blood test, because as I've explained many times, they're close to irrelevant. Sorry, question here. If I ate the same thing every day, what would my meals be? Salads. Fantastic salads. Because I get a big choice. A lot of stuff in there. But that wouldn't be enough. I need nuts and seeds. But anyway. So what I'm saying is this. If you understand human psychology, you understand that by the time you're age 3, 4, 5, you're done. You are what you're going to be. Okay. Your input, you're going to be some modification of it. But you're still, you basically formed your appetites. You formed who and what you are, what you like, what you don't like. Try to tell a 4-year-old what to eat versus trying to tell a 2-year-old what to eat. You can't tell a 4-year-old what to eat. You can tell a 2-year-old what to eat. Okay. So the point is this: whatever you grow up on live monkey brain. Perfect. You're gonna eat that the rest of your life. You grow up on salads. You're gonna be asking for salads. When your parents are 80 and you're in your 50s and your parents say, let's go out to dinner, what do you want? You're going to say, let's go. I don't care, as long as we have a salad, it'd be great. But we don't do that, most of us. All right. So the point is this: uncooked food is real food. It's the food. Now remember, this planet that we live on, okay, I don't know about Mars. Elon knows. Ask Elon. this planet, how could I be so forgetful? Anyway, forget it. Forgot my point. My point was, okay. So wherever you have any ecosystem, you have a pond. In the pond is an ecosystem. In the ocean is a humongous, multiple ecosystems. On land, multiple ecosystems. Little systems within systems. Yeah, they require stuff from the outside, but they kind of function as every ecosystem, every niche, biological niche. There are creatures that exist there. There are grasshoppers, or there are ants, or there are raccoons. Whatever it is, whatever is in the ecosystem is there. Why? Again, don't have to go to biology school. They're there because they're serving a function. They have a purpose. They have a purpose. That purpose usually involves eating, what they eat and what they excrete, and they get eaten. It's energy exchange. The universe is energy exchange. Remember that. Okay, so I just wanted to let you remind you, okay, when you cook, you degenerate the food. It's called thermal degeneration. It's called heat-treated thermal degeneration, and you change it. And all you got to do, and please, everybody, and especially you guys on TikTok, if you read books, read a book called The Pottinger Prophecy, which is a great compilation, or you can read the original Potter study from 1930s to 40s with 900 cats. Read that. It'll blow your mind. And if you guys let me know, I'll give you that talk at some time. It's mind-blowingly interesting. Interesting. All right. Where are we? Okay, I'm going to answer questions. Can you imagine? I'm finally going to shut up. Anybody over there tell me to shut up? But how do you eat meat? The raw doesn't appeal. Exactly. Wonderful question. If you can't eat it raw, it wasn't designed for humans. We're not designed to eat everything. And it's not meat. Remember, the word meat means essence. What is the meat of the subject? I eat the meat of the coconut all the time. The meat, what's the meat? It's essence. Well, the decayed muscles of a dead animal is not that animal's essence. So I don't call it meat. I call it flesh. So the question is, how do you eat flesh uncooked? You usually don't. Most people don't. Some people might. Hi, Marianne. I don't. You have to remind me more. But thank you for coming. Glad you're here. Meat. How do you eat flesh raw? You don't. Same thing with think about it, potatoes. How the heck would you eat a potato raw? I guess you could. And if you're really hungry, you would. But there's certain things you don't eat raw. You don't eat uncooked because you just don't eat them. But don't we need to eat animal flesh? Not at all. Not at all. Next time, listen. Next time you go to the zoo, I want you to say that elephant, say, "Excuse me, ma'am, where'd you get your protein?" Or when you see the horse, say, "Excuse me, where'd you get protein?" Or the gorilla. Where'd they get their protein? How come the biggest animals that have the most protein don't eat animals? How come they don't eat animals? Why? Why? Did I miss something there? There. I know. Do I look terrible again? I look terrible again, yeah? No energy, right? No energy. Yeah, man. All right, whatever the heck. All right, so let's go to the questions. Elevated D-dimer, 1.04 and extremely healthy. What could this be from, and what can I do? All right. Okay, D-dimer. Does everyone know what a D-dimer is? I'm going to assume you don't just for a moment. Okay, so we have two. As we've mentioned many times, there are every system in our body that works has a turning on and a turning off mechanism to modulate it, to finesse it, to make it more exquisite, to fine tune it, right? According to the requirements. So we have a system that starts with a protein called fibrin. Well, fibrin's an enzyme, but fibrin and fibrinogen. So it basically, and then the other side is plasminogen and plasmin. So the fibrin produces blood clots. Starts with platelets and it happens and you get a blood clot. Got to have it, right? You get cut, you got to be able to clot immediately. Immediately. You can't lose so much blood. But you got to turn that mechanism off at some point. You got to stop clotting. Otherwise, you're gonna you'll clot. Your whole body will clot, and you'll die. You got to turn it off, and that's from the plasminogen side, which becomes plasmin and blah 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 blah. So the fibrin produces these thrombin and fibrin. It produces these proteins. Kind of looks like you can imagine what it looks like, just interwoven branches and all that. It just forms amazing clots, really, clots, strong clots. Now they need to be broken down at some point once they've served the purpose. Like, for example, you clot your skin, so your skin heals. Now if the skin's healed, you don't need a clot anymore. You got to clean it up. So the word lysis, Lysis, is a scientific term, a medical term, meaning break down. And so the adjective for that word would be lytic. And the word for fibrin is the clot, right? That's the stuff that clots. So it's a fibrinolytic. It's a fibrinolytic system, okay? It breaks down clots, the plasminogen. Okay, so when it breaks down clot, it produces these little things. Some are called D-dimers, some are called fibrin split products, and there's all sorts of them. So we always have a certain amount, and if you're a little bit elevated, it means you're clotting a little bit extra. But that could mean many things. Yours is not really that high. 1.04 is not really that high. But what's happening? Who knows? You could have been, I don't know if it's near your menstrual cycle, near the end of it, or if you're healing from something, or if you were exposed to one of the people that got those genetically modifying injections. I don't know if you were them, because they wind up getting blood clots. And that's not a big deal. I would check it out again. I'd follow it again. But what can you do? Now, everybody, especially with cancer. Cancer is a hyper, meaning increased, a lot. A hypercoagulable system is what it is. It's a hypercoagulable system. So, and there's many reasons for that. There's many reasons for that. And it has to do with, believe it or not, it has to do with new blood vessel formation. Because there's a fundamental thing that needs to happen, that in order for a tumor anywhere to grow 1 millimeter, it needs new blood vessels. Okay, David, I'll try to get to that. Ask me again, because I get lost here. So, because I'm trying to finish one thought here. Where was I? Now, there are times when someone, for example, flies. I remember when when I was still conventional, before I woke up, I remember people flying in with a blood clot in their leg or their pelvis, and it turned out we worked it up and found out that they had underlying cancer, underlying malignancy. So cancer predisposes to being hypercoagulable. So that's one thing it can be. And you cannot correlate it with getting worse or not getting worse. Don't think about that. It's just correlated with it. Now, there are also very serious conditions called, like, disseminated intravascular coagulation, DIC, which we usually see in ICUs, and it's kind of like end stage stuff where you see all kinds of stuff. But the not only D-dimer's up, fibrinogen is up, fibrin split products are up, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So a small one like that, don't worry about it. Just let it go and come back. Now, what can we do to stop this? What can we do to stop this? And a lot of us need to do it, and we should be made to do it. Really good thing here. We are made in the image of God and likeness of God. Our bodies heal. Our bodies heal itself themselves unless you are actively dying. At that point, no man can spare your life. No man. I'll expand on that in a moment. I agree with you. But what can we take? We can take things called lumbrokinase. We can take nattokinase, and we can take seropeptidase. The strongest is lumbrokinase. It's like 300 times stronger. And then comes natto, and then comes seropeptidase. But seropeptidase is also an anti-inflammatory, so it's really good in a lot of situations. So these things are really good. Right? Yes, angiogenesis. So angiogenesis, the whole process of making new blood vessel growth and angiogenesis. And one of the reasons why surgery and biopsies produce metastasis is that there's already metastasis. There's already microclots, micro clusters of cancer all around the body. By the time you can first feel it, a little lump, nodule on the prostate, whatever it is, by the time you can first feel it, it's already been around 8 years. It's already got little micro islands all over the place. But they can't grow because the primary tumor is keeping it in check. The primary tumor is keeping it in check. And one of the ways it does it is through the release and non-release of heparin. And we all know that heparin, now I mentioned a minute ago lumbrokinase, and I mentioned seropeptidase, and I mentioned nattokinase. They are on the fibrinolytic side. They break down clots. Heparin and Lovenox, and those guys, which is a low molecular weight heparin, same thing, prevent the clot from occurring. Different. So you prevent it from occurring, or you break it down. Now, if you're doing both and taking aspirin and all sorts of stuff, you could probably wind up bleed too easily. So you don't just wildly get on anything. You really should have some guidance on it. But let me just make a comment on that to Vicky. We're made in the image of God. Our bodies heal themselves unless you are actively dying. At that point, no man can spare your life. No man. Okay. I agree with that even more. Healing does not come from anything other than it's inherent in the body. It's a divine gift given to every living thing. It's the holy breath of God, and when it's gone, this body turns back to earth, whether you are a human being or a worm. The breath of God keeps us alive. Right. So no man can ever spare you. I don't ever, that's why when people come to my clinic and they do really well, they get really healthy, and they're thanking me, and I go, for what? What did I do? I didn't do anything. So anyway, I'm a teacher. I like to inspire people to take back their health. That's one of the biggest problems with cancer. You guys, you got to remember, whatever religion you think you are, except maybe you guys, Marianne, but whatever, Vicky, whatever religion you think you are, you're really not. You're really, the religion is science. You're sick, you go to the scientist, the guy with the white coat, and you ask him his opinion instead of going to your priest or your rabbi or whatever. You go to this guy and ask this guy. So science doesn't know much. I know what you're thinking, and I'm not going to argue with you because it won't work. You think this is all fantastic, right? This is fantastic. We can fly to the moon, and we can drive cars really fast. This is fantastic. No, and no, and then finally again, no, not fantastic. Has not helped, in any way. Sorry. I'm going to offend everybody under 25, I guess, under 30. I don't know, 40, whatever. So anyway, elevated D dimer. It's something to watch. I watch it all the time. I watch it when we're taking care of people. I look at D dimer and then fibrinogen. If they're both going up, there's kind of something going on, right? Now, but everyone should be on lumbrokinase and or nattokinase and or seropeptidase. Now, I'm going to show you. I wish you go get one right now and eat a natto in front of you. See what natto is. You got to eat natto. Eat it. It's the real thing. If you can ever use a real food for a substitute, rather than some sort of product, do it. Okay, so nattokinase is fantastic. I think it's one of the reasons Japanese live 10 years longer than everybody else. Yeah, because it's fantastic. It's not only that; it's got soy. It's got all the essential amino acids. Check that out. So it's full protein. It's got these amazing enzymes. Yeah, if you ate that and chia seeds, what are you getting? Just like almost everything. Almost everything. You're missing out on the phytonutrients and the greens and stuff like that. The chlorophyll, all that's really important, right? But other than that, you got everything. You got every protein. You got all the amino acids. I mean, you got all the fats. You got everything. Anyway, so let's go on. Regretfully, had breast cancer last year. Is there anything I can do to repair the damage done? Yeah, well, yes, absolutely. It happened. So left. Which breast? You don't say. Okay, so yes, the damage from X-rays it's ionizing radiation usually, unless they're using the proton, but it's ionizing radiation, and what it does is it causes free radicals to be produced. And free radicals, as you know, are electron deficient atoms or molecules that are just grabbing it from another one, and which grabs it from another one, grabs it from another one, and you cause this big, and it causes these reactions. It destroys, it knocks up, it rips open membranes, rips open mitochondria. It's just really nasty stuff. So that's what it is. So what you need, antioxidants, which are also called reducing equivalents. So you need to take a lot of them. I would be taking tocotrienols, which are vitamin E, not the tocopherols, but the tocotrienols. I'd be taking vitamin A anyway, 30, 40,000 milligrams a day. I use a day. Vitamin D, a ton of it. Vitamin C, the way I said, sip it 7 to 7 over 12 hours. Sip it 7 to 7 over 12 hours. And take the minerals, manganese, magnesium, iodine, a minimum 12.5 milligrams a day. And what else? Magnesium, manganese, selenium, zinc. Yeah, some of the main ones. You need them all, but of course, boron. But a lot of them are such small amounts, like cobalt, that you'll get it no matter what. So what you can do is take a lot of that, get a lot of sleep, make sure the foods you're eating are whole foods, are real food. Well, not a whole food, like a whole tomato. Eat a tomato. And then eat lettuce, put it up, maybe cut it up and you mix it up, make it a salad, but eat whole foods. Don't eat processed. Don't eat food that's been chopped, cut, dried, and put in the package. Yeah. If it's got a package, don't eat it. You don't need to eat a package. If you're eating anything out of it, now, not all the time. We all need to have our times where we love it and we blow it. Okay. Good, Vicky. You should have zero trust in the medical profession. Now, we shouldn't just have zero trust in the medical profession. We should know they're lying. There's not even trust. It's just we know they're lying. And I'm sure TikTok will kick me off for that for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, would I take a CT for a D-dimer if I had? No need to. Get some natto, eat natto, take some nattokinase, take some lumbrokinase, exercise, get to sleep early, eat really healthy, and it's going to be better. It's going to be better. And it might be up for a reason because you broke down a clot that was sitting around somewhere. You might be, I don't know. There's a lot of reasons. That's not a high level. And as you know, if it stays up and it goes up, then you got to start looking at investigation. Don't worry to go. Vitamin A versus beta carotene, always vitamin A. Get multiple mixed carotenoids. Okay, now, the way it would come in a plant. I'm going to take a supplement, think of the way it would be produced by nature. By nature. Nature doesn't produce just one nutrient. It produces a whole lot of nutrients. And they all turn out to be necessary for that thing to have its life. At the same time, necessary to give us nourishment, those of us that eat it. And at the same time, it's actually can be turned into a pesticide for organisms that would kill it. I mean, it's just what? No intelligence, no divine intelligence. Say what? My God, madness, ridiculous, absurdity, something that doesn't even need to be talked about anymore. It's like cooked food. I think anybody would have to think about cooked food. And then eating flesh. How do you eat flesh if it's raw? You don't eat it if it's raw unless you like raw flesh. Oh, by the way, anybody out there that likes meat? Anybody out there? I mean, would they call meat flesh? Yeah. Let's see those hearts go up. All right. But I want to tell you something. Listen carefully. Any argument in favor of eating meat, flesh, the same argument would be good for cannibalism. The same argument of why I should eat meat could be used to eat cannibalism. Why not, huh? Perfect meat. It's got what we need. So let's do that. You love steak? You try human tartare, human steak tartare. Why not? It's the meat. Talk about perfect meat for us. That's perfect meat for us, especially if it's a vegetarian. Make sure that human you're eating is a vegetarian, so that they have lots of good, healthy meat. Yeah. But vegetarians are wimps. Okay, I want to show you a wimp. Okay, you love steak tartare, but other people love cigarettes. Other people love heroin. Other people love MDA. Everybody. So what? You know, we love things because we love them. Doesn't mean they're really good for us. Anyway, go online to Vegan Strongman 1 meal a day and watch it. Look at this guy. He's a deadlift champion. Been eating that way for 20 years now. Eats one vegan meal a day. And he could lift you, me, and the rest of us with one hand. Big dude. Anyway. This is still, can you imagine? This is still, you get 200 micrograms of selenium from 4 Brazil nuts. So eat the Brazil nuts and make selenium milk. Make milk out of make Brazil nut milk for your chia seeds, your chia porridge. Anyway, so eat lots of antioxidants and just be healthy. But take lots of vitamin C, make sure get some vitamin C IV. All that stuff is going to neutralize the effects of that radiation. All right, and then never let them talk you into that stuff again. Yeah. So the other thing to remember about radiation is that, especially women with right-sided, yeah, I hear you, Yvette. I know his D-dimer was off the tracks, yeah, and they wouldn't do it. Yeah. I know, gosh. Usually right-sided, if they radiate the right side of the breast, later on the woman can develop, or men get it as well, breast cancer. Develop pleural effusions, fluid in their lung. If they get on the right side, they can get pleural effusions and cardiac effusions. So it's not good. Okay, so now. Okay, Dr. Lodi, you were going to get back to us if NAC still okay with cancer. Well, actually, that's a very good point. NAC, as you all know, is N-acetylcysteine. And cysteine is one of the amino acids in glutathione. And glutathione is it's three amino acids: glycine, glutamine, and cysteine. Now, glycine and glutamine are so abundant, they're everywhere in our body. Not a problem finding that. But the hard one to get is the cysteine. This is the one with the double, it's got double bonds, and it's real powerful. And so now, as we all know, glutathione is the most important, we can't say the most important, but probably the most powerful antioxidant in our cells, in our body, in our liver, and in fact, in Parkinson's, the part of the brain called the substantia nigra is no longer making any glutathione, and so that's the big problem. So because I know I've given glutathione to Parkinson's people, and they just go, whoa, hey, good morning, how's it going? That's what happens. Yeah, it's good stuff, very good stuff. Now, so anyway, the rate limiting step, in other words, until you get the cysteine, you won't be able to make it. So if you put in cysteine, so what I like, so with regards to cancer, I don't give glutathione because I don't want the cancer cells to pick up the glutathione also and use it to protect themselves. So if I give NAC, N-acetylcysteine, the healthy cells are better at making glutathione, and they'll do it. So in a way, it's selective. But cancer cells are doing it themselves. Just like cancer cells, listen, they got to grow quickly. So they're using up cholesterol a lot, which is why, if you've all noticed, people that take statins, there are studies showing that people that are on statins for a long time have less cancer just because they need a lot more cholesterol. They also need a lot more fat. They need a lot of everything. So what are you going to do? Stop eating everything? No. And remember, it's not black and white. It's not that this is good for you and that's bad for you. It's not that way at all. Sugar's bad for you? No, it's without sugar, you're dead. Fats are good for you? Well, they can be not healthy too. Everything. So one truism about biology is this. We need what we need in the amount that we need, and nothing more and nothing less. Very simple. Okay? We need oxygen. Agreed? Hello? Over there? Yeah, you guys agree? Yay. All right. Too much, we got emphysema. You can't put a mask of 100% oxygen, you're going to get emphysema. We need 21, well, we could probably do up to 28%. It's estimated that the Earth, before we started to fix it, right? Why did we fix the Earth, right? Because God made big mistakes, right? He forgot to give us iPhones. He forgot to cook the tomatoes. Can you imagine God forgot to cook the tomatoes? Oh my God. Anyway, so we're in the process of fixing the Earth. I think we're almost done, right? Anyway. Yeah, whatever. I lost my point. But anyways, so N-acetylcysteine is very, very important, and I give it to patients IV with cancer, without cancer. We use it in the intensive care unit. If someone has taken an overdose of Tylenol and their liver is failing, it'll turn around liver failure. Now, what's really cool is in Germany, they also have a substance, but it's made from milk thistle, and the pharmacies make it, and it does the same thing. They use it for Amanita phalloides. Amanita phalloides is the death cap mushroom. It's the one that you hear about a family going out to forests, and the whole family dies from liver failure. They a death cap mushroom. Anyway, but they use milk thistle, which is really cool, and we can't get it anymore here. But NAC does the same thing. You mean that we just put people? I mean, I remember when I was young and I looked better, you guys, for TikTok, I looked better. Sorry, I'll work on it. Maybe the next 71 years, I'll see if I can stay around like this. I don't think I have much control. Anyway, we gave NAC from the beginning, and we would get people out of. I mean, these were people that were going to die. So N-acetylcysteine, because it upregulates the ability to produce glutathione. So it's very good. However, to your question, hopeful. To your question, hopeful. Yeah, it's been shown too, also to upregulate and cause growth in liver cancer, primary liver cancer, hepatocellular carcinoma. Now, I don't know if that's true. I don't quite go along with that. I'm going to have to reread that study pretty carefully, because there are lots of things that we need that are very important, that have dual purposes. For example, glutamine, which is a ubiquitous, it's all over the place, amino acid, is also used by cancer for fuel, but also our lymphocytes need it. Our natural killer cells need it. Thank you, Cheryl. Good to hear somebody thinks so. I love it. What the heck? I'm getting forgetful. I guess I get so wrapped up in this stuff. That's why I can never stop. So no matter how much everybody really doesn't want me to do this over there, TikTok world, I'm gonna keep doing it because I love it. But anyway, so so the glutamine is necessary to repair the gut. The glutamine is necessary for fuel. The glutamine is necessary, but what it does for cancer cells is it gives cancer cells nitrogen, which they need for amino acids, which they need for DNA. So does sugar. In fact, the backbone of, do you know how cholesterol is produced in our body? It starts with what? Sugar, glucose. Glucose is a fundamental. What else starts from glucose? Something else very, very important. And we would not be calling it a vitamin if we had this enzyme called L-glutamine L-glutamine. We would not. It's called vitamin C. Vitamin C comes from glucose. So you can't say, well, I don't want any glucose. I don't want it. We can't say, I'm not going to eat this. I'm not going to do this. We have to say, we have to realize, come back to, and this is a very, very important understanding, is we have to come back to a balanced, healthy meal. Make sure that it is not one side. Make sure that it has everything that we need. And it needs 60% fats, healthy fats, chia seed, flaxseed. I'll go into that one. We're going to do a whole thing on fats. Number 2, when we have our membership thing, a whole thing on fats. It's got to have amino acids. It's got to have carbohydrates, glucose. Got to have it. Now, the question about ozone therapy, quickly, everyone has heard about ozone therapy, and there's a term. There's 2 terms that need to be distinguished quickly. One is oxygenation versus oxidation. Okay, they're confused often, unfortunately. Oxygenation is like, for example, hyperbaric oxygen. You go into hyperbaric, you're being oxygenated. Oxygen is being put into your body. That's about the only one I can think of. Now, intravenous hydrogen peroxide, intravenous ozone, ultraviolet blood irradiation. Those are 3 examples of oxidative therapy. In other words, they're stimulating, increasing oxidation. Oxidation is the promotion of free radicals. What? Free radicals? I don't want free radicals. You do want free radicals. Free radicals are how you make energy. Free radicals are how our adrenal glands make adrenaline. How do they make adrenaline? Because ascorbate, vitamin C, comes along and donates an electron and produce through the Fenton reaction and produces a pro-oxidant, not an antioxidant, pro-oxidant. So yeah, we need a combination of oxidation and antioxidation. So yeah. Anyway, ozone does that. Peroxide does that. And I think ozone is fantastic. You got to do it a lot daily. Now they have 10-pass ozones. Fantastic. Very, very important. It'll like oxidize a lot of petrochemicals and junk that's in your body. It also stimulates the immune system. It also increases your plasma oxygenation. Because remember, when you're doing hyperbaric oxygen as well, hyperbaric oxygen is, if you think about like 5% of the oxygen in our body is carried on red blood cells. 90%, yeah. But so that leaves 10% in the plasma, in the fluid part of the brain, part of the blood. But only about 0.03% of that is dissolved oxygen. So that's a lot you can increase with hyperbaric oxygen. You can saturate the plasma. Big deal. Big deal. We can reverse strokes with that. We can reverse heart attacks with that. We can do all sorts of amazing things with that. There was a doctor in San Diego who was doing it years ago. He was a DO. What was his name? Great guy. He spent over $1 million fighting the board because they didn't like that. It wasn't a drug. Is ozone IV therapy okay for us? For Hashimoto's, yes. Yes. What is the best thing I can do for my PTC? If I can't afford the program at Oasis, what's PTC? PTC. I know it means something. I'm sorry. I'm really bad with acronym. Okay, here. Anyway, please let me know what PTC is. Recurring vaginal infections. I'm taking tamoxifen, and now I'm having E. coli. So tired of this. Tired of tips. Okay, so vaginal infections. We were talking a moment ago about ecosystems. Well, the vagina is a very pretty closed off ecosystem. You know, it's separated from most other parts of the body, you know, by for example, the vaginal mucosa, the inside, the lining of the vagina is hardened, cornified. It's hardened. So because it's the walls that line the vagina were designed for trauma, designed for the trauma of sex, and designed for the trauma of childbirth. Very, very different than the rectum. The rectum is very, very thin, not cornified hard, very, very thin, and it was designed to absorb, which is why you can take most medicines rectally and you'll get a good result, whereas you won't always get the same vaginally, because vaginally the medicine will go up to the ovaries and uterus and stuff like that, and get absorbed slowly. So one way of doing THC, of taking like high doses of THC, there's two ways of taking high doses of THC to CBD. There was a question, let me answer it now. THC versus CBD, they're both necessary for healing cancer and getting rid of pain. Healing cancer and getting rid of pain. Very, very important. Anyway, 70%, 75% THC to 20, 25%, 30% CBD. Minimum 500 milligrams twice a day. If you took that orally, you'd be wiped out for a week. So you can't, no matter how much you've been smoking your whole life. Okay, so fortunately, the first 2/3 of the rectal, that means the rectum, the part of the rectum that's close to the outside of the body, those first 2/3 are drained directly into the portal, directly into the into the vena cava, so it goes into systemic circulation, so it doesn't go through the liver to become 11-hydroxy, which is the stuff that makes you feel high. It doesn't become that, so you can get high doses, not get stoned, and go about your day and live your life and be productive and enjoy your life. The same with the vaginal suppositories. The vagina doesn't go to the portal circulation, so it won't go to the liver. Same kind of thing, except that in the vaginal ones will be hard. You have to lay around longer to let it dissolve as much because you don't have a sphincter there to keep it closed. Okay, so but if you're having vaginal infections, it's because you have a dysbiosis. In other words, you don't have the right bacteria there. So instead of thinking that I have a yeast in there, now I have E. coli in there and all that, put in the real policemen. The real policemen are the healthy ones. Now I know online you can find vaginal probiotics. When I was in the US last year, I saw, I think it was at Sprouts, vaginal probiotics. Because what you want to do is put in back in the healthy guys, and they will take care of it. You see, what happens is, like, for example, acidophilus, right? We all know there's many different species of acidophilus, and they're so important. Why? Because they produce acid, and that acid keeps the pH low. So our colon has a low acid, is acidic, low pH, high acid. Why? To kill other organisms. So it keeps them in check, right? So that's how they work with each other. That's how they work with it. So what you need is, and probably if you're having repeated vaginal infections, you may be having, I don't know your situation. You could call me and we could have a discussion about it. But if you're taking medications and drugs and they're giving you all kinds of stuff, it's killing not only the bacteria or whatever, or the cancer or whatever it's also killing the healthy bacteria, vaginal bacteria. So those are very, very important. And as women all know, sex can cause bladder infections, but that's just a mechanical thing. That's just the actual pushing of it into the urethra where the pee comes out of. So just make sure next time you have sex, pee twice and go to sleep. It won't happen. It's just a matter of peeing, because you don't want to shove them up there and then go to sleep. They'll crawl. Yeah, that's all. That's all that is. So it's not a reason to not have sex. The only reason not to have sex is you're in the wrong place, right? So you're not going to do it. Okay, so now interesting info about the glutathione. Oh, I must have said it earlier. I said the same thing again. I repeated myself. I take the liquid glutathione. Should I be concerned? No. I'm just saying glutathione. I remember something. If you take glutathione, it's a tripeptide. It's got 3 amino acids. What's going to happen when it gets to your stomach? It's going to be broken down. So when you finally absorb it, you're not absorbing glutathione. You're absorbing cysteine, N-acetyl cysteine. You're absorbing glycine. You're absorbing glutamine. And then your body will make what it needs. It might use it for something else. It might not. So please keep that in mind. Synthetic vitamin C, cornstarch broken down with heat, enzymes, acetone, and hydrochloric acid to make ascorbic acid. Not really natural. Right. So natural vitamin C, get pure sodium ascorbate. You can get it from plants. Tapioca is the most common now. Used to be corn, but most corn is GMO now. Beets, it used to be beets. I don't know what's going on with beets. Tapioca and but you can get natural ascorbate. Yeah. Okay, so listen, Shaz Mashur, I don't know the answer to the question. The question is having sex with someone who's been exposed to graphene oxide. I'm afraid that the graphene oxide will find its way to you. I'm afraid that's the case. I don't know for sure because I haven't seen studies on it, but I can say that it only makes sense to me. So I would be not doing that. I personally won't do that. Okay, so let me see. Okay, got a good question here. Wait a minute. Where is my thing? There's that. Here we go. Was this questions? Ah, come on. There we go. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Where are we? Can't find it. Anyway, so the question was on McClellan's there it is. Was that 30th? That's 8th. Come on. Don't be slow. Don't be slow. Oh God. Okay. Be slow. Be slow. I'll do it this way. I'll do it this way. There we go. Okay. Someone asked me about McClellan's COC. You know, the she's got a whole list of things she takes. Everything on her list is very, very good, and she starved cancer. She did a very good job there. But you know, the COC program is very good. I use all of them, right? Not so much the cholesterol, the statins, because I don't worry about that as much because I don't have people. I recommend people don't eat other animals' cholesterol here. So, yeah. So, but I think hers is fantastic. McClellan's COC, Jane McClellan's, very good. She did a great job. But she did a lot of drugs, and one of the drugs that was God. I wanted to talk about. Where is it? God. Okay. Oh, by the way, I don't remember who you are. I mean, I remember who you are, but I'm not going to say it. And I remember your face, but I haven't seen you lately. But you brought up to me about a person that you trust that was saying that fenbendazole is really not healthy. Fenbendazole has a lot of problems, and you sent me some articles. I looked them up, and I didn't find one yet that says it's not okay. Okay, so in fact, what I'm finding is that there are basically albendazole, membendazole, and fenbendazole, right? These are called benzimidazoles. Benzimidazoles are very, very important. This is what Joe Tippins, you all know Joe Tippins had small cell lung cancer, which is kind of get from smoking. He went to MD Anderson. MD Anderson shrunk it down, couldn't find the tumor, and gave him radiation. Next thing you know, it was all over his body. Why was it all over his body? Everybody that's been here for a while knows it was all over his body because he got high-dose chemo and radiation. We know that without a doubt. Okay, so it was all over his body, and they said, go home and make plans with hospice. They said, it's over. MD Anderson, there's nothing else he can do. So his friend, who was a large animal vet, cows and horses and stuff, said, hey, man, fenbendazole. He did it, and that was in 2017. This is 2023. He's still going. He doesn't have any cancer. So I mean, and he's got a lot of people worldwide. He's like a hero in China. So he's well known, and a lot of people doing it. So when I look at the difference between mebendazole and fenbendazole, it's extremely small. Okay, but all the benzimidazides, they their main claim to fame, the main thing they do is they break up the microtubules. Microtubules inside of a cell give the cell its architecture, its structure. It helps because it's kind of like the cytoskeleton. Cyto meaning meaning cell. It's like kind of like the cytoskeleton. And it disrupts those because those are also necessary when the cell is going through division. Well, what else has cytocell and goes through division a lot? Cancer cells. I mean, so yeah, but so do our healthy cells. But for some reason, the benzimidazoles like cancer cells and not healthy cells, so they don't really hurt us. Fantastic, you know. The other thing is that the benzimidazoles also block glucose uptake to the cancer cell, which is kind of nice. And they upregulate, if you can imagine, they upregulate the p53 gene, everyone. That's a big, big deal. And because even if your p53 gene is normal, make it upregulated, make it stronger, because it is a anti-cancer gene. That's what our p53 is. We have a lot of them. We have PTEN, P10, which is upregulated by what? Broccoli sprouts, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower, all that stuff. And I keep hearing, I'm going to do a big talk on, and I hope anybody out there is ready for it. Everybody out there is ready for it. A big talk on what's the new thing that I wrote an article on it. Oxalate, bad. Vegetables are bad. Stay away from smoothies. Stay away from green juice. Bad. That's what's being out there again. It's out there again. It was out. It came out in 2015. Okay, David. It came out in 2015. That was important, right? 2014. I wrote an article in Townsend letter called Green Smoothie Bliss. If you want to read it, it's worth reading. Green Smoothie Bliss 2015 Townsend letter. It's online, but I'll add to it. I'll show you the part about the Maillard process of cancer, which involves. You'll see. Okay, so now in terms of fenbendazole, as you know, Joe Tippins was taking 222 milligrams 3 times a week, 3 times off 3 times off. Some people take it daily. Some people take 7 grams 7 days a week. So they're doing a lot with it. Mebendazole 300 to 500 milligrams per day. John Hopkins proved that. Johns Hopkins University. Now, some of the articles I read, for example, the one article, impairment of the ubiquitin proteasome pathway by methyl N6, right? I remember you sent me that one. Well, when I look at it, it says, taken together, these results suggest that fenbendazole exposure results in a downregulation of NF-kappa beta. We all know that NF-kappa beta is the central molecule involved in inflammation when cancer is a chronically inflamed thing. Altogether, these results indicate a proteasomal inhibitory activity of fenbendazole belonging to a class of broad-spectrum antihelminthics against killing worms, the benzimidazoles, which have a high therapeutic index. The key factor of success of benzimidazoles as effective antihelminthic agents is attributed to the selective toxicity to helminth, to worms, and a high degree of safety towards human cells. Therefore, we propose fenbendazole as a novel drug candidate that targets the ubiquitin proteome. The proteasomes are where inside the cell they're degrading and getting rid of things, okay? Which is opposite of what the ribosomes do. The ribosomes are where things are being built, developed. Proteins are being built in there, okay? And the endoplasmic reticulum. But lysosomes, proteasomes, and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm going to finish reading. There's a couple more articles I haven't read, but every one I read looked good. I mean, maybe I got the wrong thing, or maybe, I don't know. But anyway, by the way, the Joe Tippins protocol, which is fenbendazole, is on the MD Anderson website. So anyway, I take it prophylactically. I'm looking forward to finding out that I shouldn't, but until then, but definitely if you have cancer, imagine if it downregulates, if it upregulates your p53, that's very, very important. Okay, and it blocks microtubules in cancer. Yeah, and you grow sprouts. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. That's fantastic, Carol. Good. Eating celery. Go for it. To be clear, what I'm saying about oxalates is the net effect of oxalates is not that you shouldn't eat vegetables. Oxalates do a lot of nasty things, yes. But that's, yeah. Glutamine feeds cancer, but feeds our immune system and feeds our gut. And the net effect is that glutamine actually helps people with end-stage cancer, stage 4 cancer, which is called cachexia, and it helps them. Another thing is I've been giving, please read my article, I've been giving for 20 years now at Oasis, everybody that walks through the door, several liters of green juice a day with spinach, kale, celery, cucumber, lemon, apple. That's our basic recipe. But spinach and kale have what's called oxalates in it. And we haven't had one stone, not one stone. Some people do it for 6 weeks. Some people do it for 2 weeks, like that. And they go home with that habit and doing it. And I've been doing it for longer than that. So has my staff been doing it for longer than that. So granted, there's theoretical risks somehow. But I'm going to go into even more about oxalates because it needs to be discussed. It needs to be discussed. And I will discuss it. Okay? Nature is not black and white. This is good. This is bad. Oxygen is good or bad? Tell me. I told you guys what happens to too much oxygen, right? Water is good or bad? Neither. Necessary in the right amount. Oxygen in the right amount. All of this stuff. That's what nature is. You can't say, I'm not going to do this. Of course, you're not going to eat arsenic. Of course, you're not going to eat. I'm not being absurd. Okay, I'm being real. You're not going to eat things, but you're going to eat vegetables. You're going to eat plants. That's what we were designed to do. By the way, we have a long intestine. Okay, it's 10 meters or 30 feet from our mouth to our rectum. That's long. That's long. Go on your computer and look up the anatomy of a dog or a cat, and you're going to see short, straight intestines because they're designed to eat, gobble, swallow animal flesh. Okay? Not us. And by the way, not opinion. That's not opinion, what I just told you. So, Darsha, I will talk more about oxalates because it's become a big question. Everybody's questioning healthy things. From which plant can you take your EPA and DHA as LA and LA? All okay. Linoleic acid, alpha-linolenic acid, which are omega-6 and omega-3s, are the precursors. They're called the parent essential oils. And those are the precursors for EPA, eicosapentaenoic acid, and DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. Okay, DHA, EPA. Our body will make as much as we need. We don't need as much as cold water fish, and that's where they get the EPA and DHA from. We don't need that much. So when we do eat that much, what are we doing? We're putting in a lot more than we need of polyunsaturated oils. Well, so what? Polyunsaturated means you got double bond, several double bonds. Each double bond is a locus of place where toxicity occurs. Okay, and this is what, when we're talking about rancid, if something is rancid, a rancid oil is one that's been oxidized. Mary, absolutely, I recommend fasting to restore healing. I don't talk about diseases because diseases are man-made, woman-made concepts. Our body didn't catch diseases. I mean, unless you have a staph infection. I'm not talking about that. The fact is that we didn't catch diabetes. We don't catch high blood pressure. We don't catch cancer. Those are, and they're not things, they're processes. Our bodies are going through processes. So yes, we can restore our body to health. And if you're healthy, you don't have cancer, you don't have high diabetes, you don't have high blood pressure, you don't have depression, you don't have paresthesias, you don't have gastritis. In health. That's our goal. Our goal is health. Remember, we're looking for health. We're not looking to eradicate this or that particular disease, because they'll be gone. Okay, so you guys are talking to each other. I can't get mixed up in it. But what do I want to tell you about? When we were talking about the COC drugs, right? We're talking about the one of them is that we haven't mentioned much about, and that's called doxycycline. And the reason I want to talk to you about doxycycline is that, isn't the antiparasitic and antifungal protocol harsh on your liver? It sure is. It sure is. But not everybody shows up. But that's why you let it go up, and then you do it for 3 weeks and then 1 week off. 3 weeks, 1 week off. 3 weeks, 1 week off. Right? Because you allow it to rest. But you got to get rid of the parasites. You got to get rid of the funguses. I'm going to do a story on the funguses too. You're going to see every tumor has got funguses that support it, that keep it alive. You got to get rid of them. Okay, so there's a lot to learn. There's a lot to learn. A lot to discuss. Anyway, what I wanted to talk to you is about doxycycline. Doxycycline is an antibiotic that we use for urinary tract infections, respiratory infections, intestinal infections, chlamydia, gonorrhea, acne. It's an antibiotic. Well, back in the year 2000, I was in New York still, and I remember reading Dr. Singh, Singh. Okay, he is a Canadian. I don't know if he was born in Canada or born in India, but an Indian, Canadian oncologist. And he was using doxycycline for bone metastases successfully. I started using it since that point, and it's amazing. And you can get it, and you can take it, and you don't have to go to a doctor's office and get an IV. It's really nice. Now, what they use in the conventional oncology is they use a thing called bisphosphonates, such as Zometa is the most well-known. Yeah, you can take them together, or you can just take the doxycycline. Well, it also turns out that doxycycline also targets cancer stem cells. Targets cancer stem cells. Why is that important? Because the only thing that metastasizes are cancer stem cells or mature cells that have gone through what's called epidermal to mesenchymal transition, which is what chemo and radiation do to mature cells. They put them through that transition, and they become stem. They increase stemness. So I wanted to talk to you about doxycycline too. I thought it was very important. We're talking about what? 50 milligrams twice a day, 100 milligrams twice a day. If you have a lot of bone meds, I'd say 50 milligrams twice a day. So doxycycline actually kills the mitochondria in the cancer cell. So, okay, so someone here says they're using doxycycline. It's very, very good. Read the history about it. If you want to read instead of opinions, please learn to avoid opinions as much as possible, and become your own resource. And you can do that. Go to PubMed, and you can put in topics, or just go onto regular, and then you find the topic and then put that in PubMed, and you can find it and read the original articles. Now, you're not going to be able to read all of it, and don't even worry about it, but make sure you read the abstract. If it's too confusing, try to read the introduction and maybe and conclusions, but read about doxycycline. Very, very good. Very, very good. Okay, so Instagram topic. Let's talk about ferritin, iron, and cancer. So take more or less iron. What if ferritin is really low, like 11? All right, so iron is necessary for so many things, red blood cells, etc. Cancer needs it too. So you can't do without iron, right? Another example, you can't do without something, right? No iron, you're dead. So you can't do without it. You want to have healthy levels. You want to have your iron up around 50, 60. That's a good level. You don't want it too high. And your ferritin should be below 50, maybe 40, 30. Something like that. So your ratio of your ferritin and iron should be around 0.9, 0.8. That'd be great. Healthy. A ferritin to iron ratio at 5 or more is cancer somewhere. You want to go down. So, do you need to get iron? Only if you've been getting chemotherapy, you've been getting radiation therapy, your bone marrow's been wiped out, and your red blood cells aren't just not being produced. Sorry, I was reading the article here. So so do you need iron? You need iron, but there's ways of getting iron in your body. One way you can give iron is if you need iron and you're anemic, then you can have your doctor do this little maneuver where they give intravenous iron in the form of I'll tell you that my mind today. Anyway, intravenous iron, we usually give 50 milligrams, 100 milligrams, along with IV erythropoietin. So IV erythropoietin is really good instead of sub-Q. So normally you give it, and that you may have heard of it as Epotin or Procrit or names like that. But that's basically a hormone that our kidney makes normally to keep keeps our bone marrow producing red blood cells. So it's a natural substance. So erythropoietin. But if you have erythropoietin with not enough iron, your bone marrow can't make it. So you want to have both. But if you just take iron, it's probably going to go to the cancer as much as it goes to the blood or more, to the red blood, to the bone marrow or more. So it's kind of a little trick. You give the erythropoietin and the iron. They go together. They'll go into the bone marrow. You can do that like 3 days in a row. IV. Works really nicely. I thought glutathione was an antioxidant and helped get rid of cancer. Can you overdose NAC? Okay, glutathione is an antioxidant. It's it's a powerful antioxidant. That's its job. It's working in the liver. It's working in every cell. Every cell makes it. The point is that cancer cells use it too. So you'd like to find a way. How can I make sure that the glutathione gets into that the healthy cell has the glutathione and the cancer cell doesn't? And one of the ways of doing that is to take lots of NAC. So what is your view on coffee enemas? Coffee enemas are really, really important. They produce carbol, caffeicol, which stimulate glutathione as transferase, which restores and keeps glutathione going up in your liver. Very good. Excellent. Important. No, NAC is good. I'm sorry I confuse people. NAC is a precursor for glutathione. And glutathione is necessary. Oh, okay. Nazara Dilsa. Nazara Dilsa. I hope I answered your question on fenbendazole. It's very, very good. Joe Tippins, yeah, and lots of people. So, right, I've got to read more because maybe it's true that we should be taking mebendazole. For some reason, there became a point where the research was being done with humans on mebendazole and animals were getting fenbendazole. And I don't know what that is. Most things that are done in science are done by deals made. And they have to do with money and they have to do with things like that not necessarily health. By the way, whoever you were last week who said, why don't we call it CFCs, chronically fermenting cells? I love that. Okay, because the word cancer, remember you guys, the word cancer has too much Rockefeller money behind it, and it scares the death to you. It scares the death out of you. scares you to death, and you'll do anything they say. I don't want that to happen. They're chronically fermenting cells. Call them CFCs. I like that. Whoever said that. Replying to that, yeah, that was great. Fantastic, Cheryl. I love it. CFCs. That's it. From now on, yay, CFCs. Okay. It was Debbie. Yay, Debbie. Excellent, Debbie. Fantastic. Thank you, Debbie. That was beautiful. Beautiful. Good thinking. Easy to remember, too, Debbie. Do we use Rife at Oasis? Absolutely. And there aren't many Rife machines around, real Rife machines, but we do have a real one. We do have a real one. Yeah, Rife, very important. Okay, so let's look at some questions here. How to naturally get rid of thrush in my mouth. What time is it? We got time. Oh boy, it's always getting late. We don't have enough time. Don't you guys agree we don't have enough time? I don't know. Right? Yeah. Anyway, right. Royal Raymond Rife. You all know Royal Raymond Rife. Anyway, he had used Tesla technology, found out the frequency of cancer cells and the germs around them, etc., bugs around them, bacteria, etc., and learned how to send in something out of phase and eliminate them. So they brought him to USC Medical Center, and they gave him 16 terminally ill patients, and all 16 were restored to perfect health. So of course his machines were confiscated, and all that happened, and he was invaded, and his notes were taken. It was a tragedy, one of the greatest tragedies of human history. Anyway, so everybody says they have a Rife machine, but usually if someone's calling me, I say, I know you don't have a Rife machine because you wouldn't be calling me. You had the real one. So we got one that I think is as close as you can get. It's really, really amazing. Rockefeller. By the way, my book's coming out soon, so you'll read about it. How to naturally get rid of thrush in my mouth. If you got thrush in your mouth, naturally you don't. Naturally, you could get oral probiotics. Oral probiotics that are for the mouth. The oral probiotics. You got to find out what's going in there. You got to rinse out well, and you got to make sure you have the right, because you have an overgrowth of thrush. But usually, if it's in the mouth, it's usually in the esophagus too. So one of the quickest ways to get rid of it is you've got to get a doctor to give you nystatin, 500,000 units per 5 cc's, and just rinse it in your mouth and swallow it, and do that 5-6 times a day, and it'll go away. But you've got to replace the thrush. You've got to replace. Now you could use peroxide. You could use colloidal silver. You could use those things. Take a big swig of peroxide. Don't swallow it. Spit it out. And then rinse it out with water. Wait 10 minutes or so, and then do some colloidal silver, some real colloidal silver from Natural Immunogenics. Wow. Okay, there's so many questions. My gosh, you guys, how are we going to do that? And I really am sorry. I'm going to stay a couple minutes later today because I feel so bad because I couldn't get things started at the beginning. It just, Yvette, you guys are, I'm going to tell you something. You all are so smart. You're all so smart. You know that. You know that. You got to know that. If you don't think so, I'm telling you. So, really, if someone tells you something, remember. Debbie Anderson. Okay, got to remember you, Debbie. If anyone tells you something, look it up. Look it up. If you're having trouble with the article, having trouble interpreting, give me a holler. Oh my gosh, I got somebody. People are calling. I gotta start my my day of consultations. But anyway, you guys are too important to me. You're too important. Artemisia effective in T. Artemisia is good. If you have high ferritin levels and you don't have cancer, then you got to look for something called hemosiderosis. Hemosiderosis is the inability to store to deal with iron well, and you wind up getting it in your liver and things like that. It can be a big deal. So, I mean, those are the two main ones: malignancy and hemosiderosis. If you have a high ferritin level, I mean, also acute inflammation causes a high ferritin level, but that goes away as soon as the inflammation's over. Yeah, turning 42, and I noticed some spotting before my time of the month, and on and off just lately, which never happened before. And the odd time headaches. I'm wondering if this is something to worry about, or I am possibly heading to perimenopause. Thanks. Yeah. Actually, don't worry about it. Everybody, don't worry about things. Okay, because things are what they are. And let's just figure out how are we going to take care of what's going on with us, right? Let's not worry about them. Okay, but for you, bleeding, I mean, if you have some spotting, yeah, you're probably perimenopause, which means you might be, I mean, you got to find, do you know how old your mother was when she went through menopause? Because it's about the same. Usually it turns out to be about the same. But yeah, or your hormones are out of balance, which is more than likely the situation. But don't think of endometrial cancer just because you have a few spots. Yeah, so and don't go to doctors with white coats. Because they'll pull the standard of scare on you and scare you into doing all kinds of stuff. So you had a few. So, if you can get a naturopath or a doctor that is a medical doctor who's a nice person, and get the blood test and, get it on days 19 through 22 of your cycle. Day 1 is first drop of blood, is 19 to 22 of your cycle. Get it. Let's see where things are at. Let's see what's going on. You can also do the Dutch test, which is urine metabolites, and it tells us a lot. Most of us have really unbalanced hormones, and that's a problem. That's why we have problems with that. Prostate cancer. Okay, let me just talk about it real quickly. I was diagnosed with prostate cancer in May 2021 and told that my PHP that I had only 12, 18 months to live. How dare anyone say that to anyone else? What the hell, man? What the hell is wrong with these people? Tell your PHP. I'd like to speak to him. Tell him to call me. Tell him to call me. Coffee enema, do it once a day in the mornings. Yeah. You can do it twice if you want. I got to talk to you about how to do them because you're mostly not doing them right either. Anyway, so you have prostate cancer. I did what he recommended: surgery followed by radiation and/or chemo. And/or chemo. I declined, choosing to take the first do no harm approach, which led to the following 10 steps of radical remission. I'm healthier now than I was before. However, I continue to have some difficulty urinating, which indicates what do I recommend the group? Also recently discovered. All right, so prostate cancer. I don't know what you're taking. I don't know what anybody who's taking is with it, but read Abraham Morgentaler. He's a urologist from Harvard, so very well credentialed. And he looked up the history behind the idea that testosterone causes prostate cancer, and he showed that it didn't, and that whole idea came from one flawed study. All right. So anyway, so you got to get your hormones balanced. Again, you don't like estrogen's not bad. It needs to be balanced. You need to have more estriol than estrone and estradiol. How do you do that? How do you do that? Iodine. Okay. Testosterone is not bad. You just need to have it balanced. You got to have the right, okay? None of these things are bad. It's all good. You need to have balance. And what I would say now with prostate cancer, another thing that's not talked about, but it really has to be talked about, is ejaculatory frequency. So here's the problem. If they give you the shot, or even women get shots of Lupron or something like it, and knock out from your hypothalamus the whole cascade going down to your sexual organs, and you have no libido and you're not having any sex. If you're a man, your prostate's going to be congested. You have to have an orgasm. You have to ejaculate like 18 times a month. Okay. Minimum. And same for a woman. So don't let them, don't let them knock out your balance. Your estrogen, if you're estrogen receptor alpha, that means if you're estrogen receptor positive, that means alpha's positive, not beta. Beta's good, except in bladder, it can be a problem. But otherwise, the beta is really, really good. So anyway, listen, most of what you've learned is completely wrong. And we need to clear it up, and we need to keep clearing it up. And I'm so happy you guys are asking questions. And we're going to keep this up. So again, next week, I'm going to be ready. I'm sorry. So Eddie Cup, have a great week, you guys, and send me your questions. And I love you all, really. So Eddie Cup, namaste and aloha.